I prepare myself for more awkward encounters with local law enforcement as I keep digging up bodies.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television, The Naturalist.
2, 1, 2, 3.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
All right, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television. It's a podcast about bad books. I'm J.W. Friedman.
And I'm Chris, the Nature Boy Collision.
Woo! Who's the best hockey player? Anyway, sorry. That's a runner from last week, folks.
Flipping the script.
We are. This time around, we're talking about a book that came to my attention as it was advertised to me directly on my e-reader as free. So I was like, I will read this free thing. And hoo boy, that turned out to be a mistake as I delved into The Naturalist by Andrew Mayne. It's worth noting before we go any further, Andrew Mayne is a magician who has a TV show, and he's worked behind the scenes with world-class dick lords like David Blaine and Penn Jillette.
Also worth noting, it is impossible for me to not read his name as Mayne.
I even have it in my notes as Andrew Gucci Mayne.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that I have trouble with is I am 1,000% convinced that the guy who wrote this book looks and sounds exactly like Chris Angel, Mind Freak, and I will not be dissuaded from this. And if you think that this is not written by Chris Angel, Mind Freak, do not at me.
I'm going to at you right now because I looked at the author photo and he actually looks more like Tom Green making a scary face.
I cannot hear Jay, la 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 la.
He looks like Tom Green giving you Blue Steel, really, more than anything else. He's kind of got his face down and his eyebrows kind of furrowed, and he's looking very serious. The Naturalist.
So he's Chris Angel.
Yeah, he's the Mind Freak, for sure. Right off the bat, I just want to say, I'm surprised we've never done The Martian yet. I have never read The Martian. I've seen the movie. I've read excerpts from The Martian, and this really reads a lot like that, which was adapted from a series of Reddit posts.
Yeah, I think this is like, I feel pretty good about The Martian. Like, I liked the movie. It was a fun couple of hours in the theater. And this definitely inhabits, I think, what you could call a post-Martian landscape. This is definitely for people who fucking love science.
Logical fallacies on the internet a lot.
Also I think it's a little more benign than that. You know what I mean? I think it's people who genuinely do think that, like, small s science is a good thing and knowing stuff is of benefit. And it's hard for me to get too mad about that until it curdles and turns into like, maybe phrenology actually has some good points.
I agree with you that is a decent worldview. I disagree with you that it's a great platform to begin writing a fiction book from.
Therein lies the tale.
Yeah. So let's delve into it here. Before we get any further into things, I think we should try to explain what this book is about in as briefest period as possible.
I am going to crash and burn at this so fucking hard.
Well, here is the song.
Nobody knows if you finish or not. You got 60 seconds to give them a plot. Plot in 60 seconds.
All right, so in this segment, Collision is going to try and fail to describe this book to you, the listener, in 60 seconds or less. Yeah. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Go.
In Montana, Dr. Theo Cray, a scientist who isn't good with people, gets caught up in a murder mystery when one of his former students turns up dead, a victim of a killer bear. Or was she? Dr. Cray, who isn't good with people, isn't sure, so he hacks the killer bear DNA database and discovers that the cops killed the wrong killer bear. He starts poking around small-town Montana and national missing person databases using MOT, his homemade behavioral analysis AI database, and discovers that the missing people in Montana conform exactly to the pattern of a hunting great white shark. Armed with this insight that totally makes sense, he roams around small-town Montana discovering bodies, and even though he's not good with people, he meets a foxy, diner-owning ex-army lady named Jillian, and an amiable motel-owning fella named Gus, who teaches him to box and shoot, but not to get along with people. Frowny face. Eventually, he discovers that what he's dealing with isn't a traveling super bear, but a super predator tow truck driver who dresses up in body armor and sharp metal claws and kills people. There's a giant shootout, he kills a ton of cops, and eventually, one of those two characters gets their face blown off with a shotgun by Jillian, and I'm not telling you who.
Well, you went over, but it would be impossible to do otherwise. I loved, as you mentioned, when he first discovers that it follows the pattern of a killer shark, because that's the point where I thought this book was going to go somewhere way more interesting than it ends up.
So, yeah, this book for I don't know, it's maybe, 400 pages long?
A little less than that, I'd say, yeah.
But for maybe 150 pages, you're thinking wait, is this really about a super bear? And then it sort of shifts basically imperceptibly and isn't really announced to, no, we think it's a guy using a bear-like weapon.
Yeah.
And it's the change is I don't know, they needed to make more of that. I
was hoping for a land shark,
Land
personally.
Shark 100%. Because through that 150 pages, I was genuinely on the fence about is this really just going to be about a super bear? How do I feel about that? I don't know.
Yeah.
And at the end, I think I would have liked it better about that than about a tow truck driver cosplaying the Devil's Rejects or something.
Well, and I just want to go out on the record right now. People who listen to the show know I enjoy myself a good mystery novel. This book breaks the number one rule of writing a mystery novel, which is the villain, our culprit, is a character that isn't mentioned in the book at all until they figure out who it is. It's not like you meet this tow truck driver several times, you have any opportunity to have suspicions about him. It's presented like a mystery, and then just from out of nowhere, it's it was this off-screen character we've never mentioned, which Agatha Christie would have your head for that.
Well, she would, and that would be actually really awesome to see. But I got to push back a little bit because this is not a mystery. This is the pilot to a TNT show.
It's a procedural.
It has almost exactly as much plot as your average two-parter X-Files episode, one of the monster ones, not one of the mythology episodes. And that actually is not necessarily a bad thing. If you came up to me and said, "Hey, Collision, what do you feel about TNT-level procedural shows?" I'd be like, "Well, Jay, that's kind of a weird question, but honestly, I feel pretty good about them."
Yeah.
And so that part is actually pretty fun. But yeah, if you're expecting a tightly crafted whodunit where you can actually reread looking for the clues you missed the first time, this ain't that.
Yeah, it's not. So I guess you're right. Maybe I'm holding it to an unfair standard. It's a story about a murderer. It's not really a murder mystery. Although I really think it's trying to be.
I mean, it is, but it's sort of more God, I mention this show way too often, but it's like an episode of Criminal Minds that somebody has taped for you, but they've taken all the parts where you see the killer doing the killer things out.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday, but it really, it's got a Burn Notice vibe to it.
Yeah.
Except for the whole, the monologues of Burn Notice. When you're a spy, you do blah, 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 blah. And this is replaced. It's with, when you're a scientist, you know that X and Y and Z. And there's so much of that kind of stuff.
Except that weird interlude. I don't know if you picked up on this, where it was, when you're a jet, you're a jet. And that
true.
was just bizarre.
From your first cigarette to your last dying breath. Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to add, basically, this not a plot in 60 seconds, but kind of my summation of the book, which is, as I was reading it, I was taking notes, and it occurred to me about halfway through. This is the story of a random civilian who feels completely justified running around the country, digging up and desecrating corpses and depositing them anonymously on the steps of various law enforcement offices, and he is our hero.
Yeah. I realize, okay, I want to mention one big chunk of plot that I skipped, which is eventually he figures out more or less who the killer is, but not by name. He just knows everything about the killer except the actual identity. So Joe Vick is the guy who likes to dress up as a bear and kill people. And he calls Dr. Theo Cray. And he says, "You know who this is, and here's what you're going to do. If you want to keep Jillian and Gus alive, you're going to tape a confession saying that you were the one who killed all the people, and then you're going to kill yourself." And Dr. Cray is like, "I can't think of any way out of this." So what he does is find a corpse that he can't disguise as him, tapes a confession, shoots the corpse.
Yes. Stages a suicide scene.
Injects a bunch of his blood into the corpse to fool DNA, just to obfuscate it for a couple of days, and goes on the lam to figure out who Joe Vick really is, right? This is about maybe 50 pages after he has a long, heartfelt conversation with the mother of his former student.
Yeah.
And he really gives her a lot of hope and closure. And then 3 days later is releasing to the media a tape of himself saying, "No, I killed them."
Yeah.
And I just thought that was fucked up, man.
It's really fucked up. And I mean, when he's not doing that, he's literally trying to prove that this isn't a bear after all by going around the country, digging up corpses, taking their arms and stuff, and leaving them at police offices.
Yeah. There's this long scene where he's basically free diving in a sulfur fueled hot spring, and finally comes up with a teenage girl's rib cage, and it's yes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's really told in this way where, I mean, we'll talk about this a lot more when we get into high points, low points, I think. But just on a very, very high level, this character oscillates wildly between being what can only really be described as a nebbish, a very kind of socially inept, quiet sort of dude.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, all of a sudden, he's fucking super cop. And then he goes back to being the same sort of quiet dude again.
It's sort of on the spectrum as superpower in a not entirely savory way.
Yeah.
He does mention I'm not good with people or social cues about every 11 pages, in case you forget.
Yeah, it is heavily implied that he has some kind of spectrum disorder that makes him a super scientist, which is offensive on many levels for sure.
And his attention to detail is sort of it reads a little bit like somebody trying to write a Sherlock Holmes story without ever having read Sherlock Holmes, but they've seen every episode of every TV series involving Sherlock Holmes.
There is and I'm not even going to give it credit for the BBC one. A lot of this feels like Elementary.
I feel like I saw the first couple episodes of that and kind of liked it.
It's not bad, but I mean, it's by no means, sophisticated tales of crime solving. It's basically just wow, Lucy Liu is really awesome. That's my take on it.
Side note, I reread some of the earliest Sherlock Holmes stuff. I got this compilation that just collected them all chronologically, and one of the first stories, 3/4 of it takes place a guy tromping through Montana, and it's not even Sherlock Holmes. It's crazy. Or maybe it's Utah.
Weird. Is he in a bear suit?
Not what you'd expect. He's not mentioned to be in a bear suit, but I believe the idea that he is in the bear suit is actually consistent with the rest of the tale.
I want to say I think a lot of kind of our main characters' social awkwardness or ineptness comes from the fact that I think the author just has a complete lack of understanding about how a lot of things in life work, drugs certainly, and sex workers
I left
certainly,
that part out
and
too.
Also other human beings,
truck drivers. He doesn't really understand truck drivers. Every interaction with cops is definitely heavily influenced by TV.
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically a TV pilot.
I wish I would have highlighted some of it because you mentioned the truck drivers thing, and at one point he's staking out a truck stop.
I know the exact scene. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna find it.
Okay,
right
yeah,
now.
but he basically seems amazed that he's one after another they pulled up and filled their gas tanks. It's like they were from Central Casting somewhere or something.
No, that's exactly the line, and it's just no, and it's even more than that. Oh, it's not finding central casting. That's weird.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't use that
No,
term.
he actually did.
Okay.
I know he did. But
I just love the fact that he was like amazed at the fact that people go to truck stops to put gas in their truck.
that
There's also a character in this named Amber who is.
okay, I did find it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you give it to him?
I sip my stale coffee and watch the parking lot of the motel from my second floor room. I'm not paranoid yet. I'm just tired of looking at a computer screen for hours on end. A big rig pulls up to the diesel pumps, and a stocky man in a tan leather overcoat gets out and walks into the service station. He's about the 8th guy I've seen do the same thing. It's like there's a casting office down the road they're sending them from.
It's weird because being the 8th guy to get out of your cab and walk into a truck stop, once again, is not a remarkable thing when you've been staking out a truck stop.
You know what would be weird? A truck pulling up to the truck stop, stopping, and then driving on without somebody getting out of it.
Yeah.
And add to the list of things that Andrew Mayne doesn't quite understand, overcoats. I guarantee that truck driver was not wearing an overcoat.
Yeah, that's true. He's not out in his London fog.
He was not wearing a car coat. He's not Jerry Cornelius.
He was wearing his driving gloves and spats. It's like there's a casting office somewhere that just keeps pumping out gangsters from the 1950s.
I need some diesel, see? I'm rum running, see? Got to stay one step ahead of the law. The author seems to have a really weird grasp on how human beings act. And actually, I wrote this last night after a couple drinks, I've realized, and compared it to something written by a person who was raised in some sort of horrible dogtooth situation where he had no idea how people outside of his tiny world speak and act. Because... Yes, Jay, that's the world of science.
Yeah. Or what was the M. Night Shyamalan movie that ended up... The Village. You know, it's got that kind of vibe where it's like...
Dude, I haven't fucking seen that yet.
Oh, I didn't spoil anything.
Come on, man.
But, yeah, I mean, just to kind of elaborate on this, there's a character in this named Amber who is essentially, for all intents and purposes, a sex worker who works at a truck stop. Yeah. And she has a pimp/boyfriend who hangs out with his hired muscle partner, and they're described as two early 20s guys in knit caps and Halo t-shirts.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that this is his idea of scary hoods. It's like...
Although I did kind of like it. It was a little like that kind of Twin Peaks thing, you know, where you're watching the first episode. And I don't know if you've rewatched Twin Peaks at all, the first
about
season.
10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Twin Peaks, you know, came out in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But is set in this weird world where big parts of the 50s never ended. So, like, the hoodlum is this, like, greaser in a leather jacket, you know? And I kind of liked this for that. Like, I didn't mind the, like, okay, you know, so they're hoods, sure. They're violent guys. They're meth enthusiasts. But they shop at Target, you know, they get their Halo shirts.
That's a good point. I guess in my mind, I was just picturing the average type of person I see around the Bay Area in a Halo shirt, which is not, they do not cut an intimidating figure, let's say.
Right, but I mean, you got to remember that this is Montana, home of the scariest Americans.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about that, but like this, I hate to like buy into like conservative talking points, but this book really kind of lends credence to some of the stuff that people say about the coastal elites and how they view the quote-unquote flyover states, because this book presents pretty much the entirety of the Midwest and the North Midwest as like a horrible, dilapidated wasteland populated by nothing but meth heads and serial killers.
I mean, I think Andrew Mayne has seen Deliverance, and when he thinks about Montana, you know, dueling banjos definitely is playing softly in the back of his mind.
Yeah, it's a little insulting, I'd say, to the residents of, you know, a great part of our country. So, you know, and I mean,
that said, if you've ever, as I have, on a road trip, checked into a motel in, I'm going to say Helena, and walked down to the 7-Eleven to get yourself a six-pack so you can, go to sleep that night. And been kind of afraid that 4 teenagers hanging in front of the 7-Eleven were going to jump you, and had your fear bolstered by the fact that they were dropping F-bombs on you, and not the kind that we say on the show all the time, friends. The
other
different
one.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that reads a little less inaccurate. I mean, like, look, I'm from Colorado,
Yeah.
Like, there are shit kickers in the world. Some of them are kind of scary. Like, what Andrew Mayne doesn't get about it is that most of these guys look like they'd be on the wrestling team and would have, like, that really cool ring in the back of your Levi's that you get when that's where your chew can has been for years.
Exactly. It's everybody in this book.
If he had mentioned that detail, this book would have actually, like, climbed into the realm of actually pretty okay, maybe.
Yeah.
As it is, I think it lingers in the realm of, like, inoffensive and, like, stridently generic.
Yeah, and just, like, really kind of just patronizing, but we'll get into this later because it's kind of part of one of my low points.
Okay.
So speaking of which...
Do you like to get high?
I do. I do, much like many of the characters in this book. So let's go ahead and do some high points, low points.
High points are high, and low points are low. High points, low points, get ready to go.
All right, so you want to start us out with a high point?
I will start us out with a high point. This book had probably the highest percentage of unintentionally hilarious sentences of anything we've read in a really long time.
Yes.
I cannot remember something that had just so many things that I was like randomly highlighting because they made me giggle.
That's definitely why I recommended it, I think, is because I got about 30 pages into it and had already belly laughed like at least 6 times, and not at jokes, just at the way certain sentences were structured and things. It's good stuff.
Let's just give you a couple of those. I mean, first off, you've heard one of them in the cold open, and that's pretty representative, right?
Style? What style? Please do the car one.
Oh, I will.
Okay, good.
Worse, I may have killed an innocent bear.
So good.
An innocent bear. No.
Good.
This I'll get to later, but this is getting too complex for my map. Fortunately, I have a portable video projector. This scene, by the way, he's alone in his hotel room.
Yeah.
Describing things to himself. I'm here because I feel paternal toward her, not because of some unspoken romantic feeling I had for her.
Because those are the only 2 ways a man can feel towards a woman, by the way.
Jesus Christ. Leaving even an innocuous voicemail message is awkward for me, much less when I want to talk about an alleged murder. Same, bro.
Yeah.
Hashtag relatable. With some Tylenol and sleep, maybe a medicinal beer or 2, I'll be fine in a couple days. Also, actually, pretty fucking relatable. This is, I think, probably the coup de grace, but I will read the car one in a second.
Okay. You got to read the car one because it's my favorite.
And I think I just won the contest between us of who can be the smuggest dick.
That definitely sums up this book more than anything else, I think. Essentially, is smug dick interacts with other smug dicks. And it's pretty much on point.
Yeah.
I think that's after he's been interrogated by a police officer and is very proud of himself by putting him in his place intellectually, which... Considering the fact that this guy is a college professor from Austin, talking to a police officer who's pretty much portrayed as like a Barney Fife character, doesn't really seem to be an achievement you'd be super proud of.
Well, I don't think he's Barney Fife. I think he's like... I mean, that's the same cop who just like kicks the shit out of him later, right?
Oh, he's Marty from True Detective, basically. He's the Woody Harrelson True Detective character.
Okay, just 2 more.
Okay.
At some point, her hand touches my thigh and travels upward until she's cupping my bulge.
Cupping my bulge. That's definitely a song title if there ever was one.
Oh my God. I mean, how does... I mean, I know that you love... what's that crappy band that you love with the good song titles? Widening Kennedy?
Don Caballero?
Don Cab, yeah.
Shut up. But yeah, Cupping My Bulge would be a good Don Cab song for sure. Minus the bear, could probably get some mileage out of it. South Carolina's Finest Botch.
more like minus the songs. There's an
don't write in to correct us about the botch thing. That's a running joke from a very long time ago.
That's a callback from like 2015 or something.
Yeah, we know they're not from South Carolina. Thank you.
There's an icy pain as my elbow smashes into the side view mirror of a Toyota Celica.
That one's good, but that's not the car one that I wanted to hear.
Oh, shit. I mean, because I felt like there is no icier pain than that delivered by the side mirror of a Toyota Celica.
No, the one that you mentioned earlier involved a character named Julian, and
yeah, you're right. This is, how can I put this? The best sentence ever written?
the macro the micro that really illustrates the macro in a lot of ways, I would say, to use some science shit, as this book would call it.
This is really the ontogeny recapitulating phylogeny.
There we go.
Let's take him to the car and use it to get out of here, replies Jillian.
I've heard you say that at least 4 times now, and every time it makes me laugh out loud.
I mean, like, I actually stopped and put the book down and spent, like, not an insignificant amount of time trying to figure out, is there a worse way to convey that sentiment than that sentence?
I've got a car. Let's use it to get out of here.
Okay, so here's the scene. A cop has been shot, and there's a car over there, and the guy who shot the cop is still shooting at you. So let's understand that we can take certain things as contextually given.
Yeah.
Like, cars are for going places.
Yeah, there is one here. You could get inside it before you went somewhere in it.
Like, yeah, it's like the world's worst technical writer,
Yeah.
like stepping into a crisis and being like, "Everybody, slow down. I know a step-by-step way to get us through this."
It's when you get into programming, when you start out learning to program a computer, one of the first things they teach you is kind of to do step-by-step instructions on normal real-life tasks, like how to make a peanut butter sandwich, broken down to all of its different components. And, like, first you open the drawer, then you get out a spoon or a knife. Or, sorry, not a spoon. I make weird peanut butter sandwiches.
Jesus, what is wrong with you?
Then you get out a knife. Then you open up the cabinet. You get out peanut butter. You close the cabinet, yada, yada.
But all this is bullshit because I know just enough about C that first you have to, like, load the kitchen library.
That's true. Well, that's eventually what it breaks down to, is that, and they'll always try to get you with, well, you forgot to say close the lid, and that would create a peanut butter memory leak. But either way, I feel like this is that style of writing, like, in the world of murder fiction, and I love it so much.
Yeah,
Let's go to the car and use it to go to a place.
Brilliant. Thank you, science guy. Do you have a high point? I mean, I know it's hard to imagine a high point higher than let's take him to the car and use it to get out of here.
I do, and it's more of a specific situation in the book that once again just kind of illustrates how tone deaf both our author and our hero are when it comes to human behavior. Because I want to talk about basically Professor Cray, his lack of knowledge of how human beings work goes so far that in order to get more information about a dead girl, he texts a random sex worker for info with a creepy message about her dead friend, then meets her behind a truck stop where he gets robbed because she and her friends are afraid of him for good reasons. So then he goes to a store, buys 2 different burner phones to harass her repeatedly, sending her text messages from. When she fails to respond, he gets her address from the internet, stalks her house until her boyfriend isn't home, then knocks on the door and does the old foot in the door jam trick, refusing to leave.
This is your high point?
Yeah, and then she decides that she likes him because he's so damn persistent. And just to me, like, that just speaks volumes about how hilarious this book is, the way it describes the way people behave. Like, everything he just did there is creepy and scary as fuck.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to read it and be like, what a resourceful gentleman.
Jesus. It's at least possible, given the text too, I just want to put this out there, that Amber and her buddies have pivoted from actual sex work to basically a honeypot situation, whereas out-of-towners come through and are looking to exchange money for sexual favors. They just beat them up and take their money.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Actually, it is kind of explained. I think later on, especially when it's from people she doesn't know,
Right.
they assume it's a creeper, so they pull this trick on him, you know. But like the fact that then he goes and repeatedly harasses her, she doesn't respond. He looks up her address on the internet, stakes out her fucking house, does the old the literal traveling salesman in a 1950s TV show thing where he puts his foot in the door so she can't shut it.
Right.
It's like, dude,
Which he does at least twice, because he also does it to the killer's foster mother toward the very end, right?
He's a terrifying man, really, but he's presented as a hero, and it's really, I don't know that it's funny, but yeah, it's pretty funny, so I don't know.
Wow. I'm going to guess you liked Mindhunter a little better than I did.
Oh, guess what's in my notes later on?
I don't know, but guess what my first low point is? It's actually very, very similar.
Your low point is similar to my high point. Yeah. Awesome.
I'm gonna read you a little passage. After another half mile, we come to a section where the trees thin out. Jillian whispers, "No place to hide here." But after the next bend, it gets thicker. If I were a sniper, ... That's where you would be. Yes, sir. Keep walking. I let her get farther ahead of me, then quietly begin to climb to the ridge. I wait for her to get around the curve before I go over the top, wanting the focus of any watcher to be her emerging through the ravine.
Wow, dude.
Are you fucking kidding me?
This is crazy for two reasons. A, that's a shitty thing to do to someone you supposedly care about. I think by this point they've already had sex, right? Or this is right before they do, I guess.
I think this is right before.
But either way, there's a burgeoning romantic relationship, so that's definitely what you want to do to the object of your desires, is fucking use them as bait. And then B, Jillian is ex-military.
Right.
Why not have her go up to deal with the sniper while you play the bait? You know?
I mean, that is extremely not the behavior I'm looking for from a hero.
No.
If I, what was that woman's name who did that song? Jill Flashdance, am needing a hero till the end of the night, who's got to be strong and he's got to be smart and he's got to be there for the fight. It's not this guy.
He's got to be strong and he's got to be smart and he's got to be willing to send me ahead into the possible crosshairs of a long-distance rifle.
Like, especially because it's particularly galling because she's the one who pointed out the possibility of a sniper.
Yeah, I mean, she has military training, and he's like, no, you just go walk through there and maybe get shot at.
I'm a little surprised he isn't like, all right, babe, here you go. Take these tiny finger symbols that I've brought with me in case we needed a flamenco dance and try to make a lot of noise, which really just draw his attention.
I believe you're thinking of castanets, my friend.
Whatever, man.
Sorry. Finger symbols I would more associate with those little creepy toy bears that show up in horror movies a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, my bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
My cultural insensitivity toward tiny bears strikes again.
And also flamenco music. Jeez, dude. Jeez.
God, I suck.
Yeah, we're bad at this. My low point, from these examples so far, you probably already noticed. For some reason, this book is written in the first person present tense, which that's a difficult trick to pull off even if you're a good writer. And this dude is not equipped for it at all. It adds nothing, and it really does make it, I mentioned The Martian earlier being adapted from Reddit. It really makes it feel like you're reading a series of forum posts that's strung together like one of those, what the kids call the creepypasta type stories. It feels very amateurish, and there's no real reason for it. The narrative doesn't need to be told in that particular style, and it's a style that this dude obviously just cannot really get the most out of, and it makes it very awkward to read, I think.
This guy's written a ton of books too, based on the front matter. So it's not exactly as though this is Baby's first book, but it kind of reads like that, and We've talked about this many times, but this book absolutely feels like it was written in real time. There's a section where he like pauses to look things up on the internet, and you can just tell that was the idea that Andrew Mayne had at that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's just narrating what he in fact is doing.
I entered into Google hot anime babe. Whoops. Delete.
What?
This actually kind of relates to what I mentioned earlier. Was if the timeline weren't wrong, I would be almost convinced that this was like written while watching Mindhunter, because it feels very much like a lot of the same beats for sure. And I think that's because maybe they're both intensely derivative pieces of fiction. Oh damn!
Damn.
Editor's note. Yes, I realize Mindhunter is based on true events. However, it is a highly fictionalized version of those events. Please do not write in to correct us. Thank you.
Yeah, so like this is 100% written in real time. I Google missing persons information and come across the webpage for the FBI's National Crime Information Center. They have a listing for missing persons, a list of people who have vanished under suspicious circumstances. According to this, there are 84,000 missing people right now in the United States. New paragraph. Holy shit, that's a lot of people. New paragraph. To be sure, many of these people are drug problems or other issues. 84,000 people? That's like the city of Boulder, Colorado, disappearing. Like...
Yeah,
So-
you did some research, dude. We're proud of you.
And it's all right there on the page.
It is. That's a good point. I didn't even really stop to think about it like that, but it really is like he's narrating his own research that's going into writing the novel and just passing it off as what the character is doing.
Yeah.
Which maybe that explains the first person present tense thing.
I mean, so I guess that would probably lead me to my next low point is he combines this kind of I don't know how sentences work sometimes energy, because this book is obviously not what you would call heavily edited.
I was just going to say edited at all.
Yeah. So he combines that, like, I don't necessarily know how sentences work thing with sometimes, like, I just don't know how stuff works. And I'm gonna give you two examples. One, he there's this throwaway line where he just says, if I have to run down every urban legend in southern Montana, ... it'll take forever. Urban legends contain the word urban. Mm-hmm. Southern Montana contains very little of what you could call urban.
Yeah.
So maybe run that one through the old mark for rewrite process.
Exactly.
Right. There's
Every cryptozoological incident.
Yeah. Like 60 pages later, he's like, I compared these cars to a list of cars belonging to missing persons in the 80s. And I just screeched to a halt at that point. It's like, the fuck are you looking at? Like,
That's my favorite website, dude.
Yeah.
You've never been to cars belonging to missing persons from the 80s.com?
No, but I have gone to plotpoint.com.
Yeah, that's true.
And needed information to patchthiswhole.org. And, of course, Wikipedia for finishing books.
Yeah.
That's
I
one of my
believe
favorite.
NaNoWriMo has many forums about how to deal with these sorts of problems.
Yeah, I mean, so there's just like, it's like this is an appealingly good-natured book most of the time, but if you kind of like start like really looking at the wallpaper, it just was not put on with any kind of care. Like it's a little slapdash. I mean, you got it free. I think I paid somewhere on the order of $1.99 for it. So, like, I get it, but I think it's also been optioned for some kind of TV treatment.
I think it's going to be a movie, which, oh, God.
And there's a great moment, like, way at the end where he's like, this kind of serial killer is a new kind of serial killer, which made my ears perk up because, as savvy listeners know,
I was going to say,
I watch Criminal Minds.
Well, I was just going to ask if he's a level 23.
Yeah, exactly. And he speculates that there might be as many as 20 or 30, and I'm like, 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Good man.
Oh my God! Can you imagine 2 seasons of this unlikable character bumbling around being a fucking jerk to people accidentally and? I'm
the only guy who liked The Pretender.
I was going to say that I just described Monk.
Yeah. oh my God, this is like a dark monk.
It is. Whoa. And we're not talking about any like thelemic order type stuff either. So, I guess my last second low point here kind of goes into, you said this book is appealingly good-natured. I agree for the most part, except for, as I kind of alluded to earlier, just his treatment and the way he describes drug addicts, poor people in general, women,
cops, basically everybody. Well, you're right. Right.
There's a lot of just kind of really patronizing, kind of paternalistic. Like, there's a scene in this book that I'm going to read from later, so I don't want to spoil it too much, where our narrator is literally like just floored by the fact that people who use drugs might have ambitions beyond using drugs. And, there's this real almost like paternalistic, patronizing vibe. In my notes, I said it has a real hillbilly elegy kind of vibe to it, for sure. Because anytime he gets on these topics, it just comes across as like, well, these people aren't smart enough to know what's good for them, is kind of the underlying motivation behind a lot of our main characters' thoughts. And I didn't like that. It made me feel a little slimy, especially when the guy is literally a college professor and most of his thoughts about people, revolve around kind of thinking about how they aren't as smart as him or as good as him or as driven as him. It's a little frustrating.
Yeah, the only saving grace is that he doesn't like himself all that much better.
That is true, yeah.
But this is definitely a book narrated by the kind of person who will say, in all seriousness, if rural Americans, like say in Appalachia, are having a tough time, why do they not simply move to cities?
Exactly.
You know, and that will definitely leave a bad taste in your mouth if you say, read the book with your brain on.
Yeah, which, I mean, that may have been my mistake, honestly. I forgot to flip that switch.
Yeah. Well.
And by flip that switch, I mean, drink enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've spent a lot of time wallowing in this valley, looking around for corpses that we think for 150 pages of the book that bears have buried for some reason, because that's totally bear-like behavior. But perhaps it's time to climb to the peaks.
It is. Perhaps it's time to send our girlfriends ahead while we climb to higher ground and look for a sniper.
Why do I work so hard at these segues, by the way? I don't know.
Especially when you're dealing with Dr. Segway right here in the same room, buddy.
No, it's true. For those of you who don't tap into the live stream, that it actually exists.
It does.
What you may not know is that Jay doesn't just record these standing for extra energy. He actually records these riding a Segway around.
Yes, wearing a stethoscope.
It's really fucking off-putting, and I wish he'd stop.
But yeah, high points. Let's do one more each. You go first.
Okay. Dr. Theo Cray.
Which, by the way, is one of two characters whose name I can remember.
Who's the second?
Amber. Because it's the color of my energy, so...
Oh, I knew you were going to go there.
Sorry. I'm just a huge fan of Peanut and the Boys.
So angry right now. His pants are so wide. So Dr. Theo Cray is constantly reaching into his day pack or reaching into his pockets or going to his trunk for something. And, I read earlier the thing where he his map is getting confusing. Thank God he's got a portable projector with him. He has everything with him all the time.
Yeah.
He pulls a box of colored thumbtacks from his luggage. What?
And he's on vacation. It should be mentioned. He wasn't sent on some kind of work trip. He's on vacation.
That is a direct quote that I just fucking read. His daily carry is simply exquisite. Like the very first scene that he's in, he's getting arrested.
Yeah.
And he has to tell the cop everything that's in his pockets.
Oh, God, I forgot about this part. It's amazing.
Yeah. And he's just like, I have my wallet. Okay. I have my keys. Anything? I have a flashlight. Anything else? I don't want to forget anything. Oh, yeah. I have a Leatherman. This is his loadout to like leave the motel room to go to the ice machine.
Yeah. And I'm just going to imagine, because I don't know what a day pack is. So as I was reading this book, I was imagining him wearing a fanny pack.
Okay,
Which made me really happy.
Here's the thing. You're not wrong about that, because when he pulls his day pack out, I highlighted this too, he straps it around his waist. He says explicitly.
It is a fanny pack.
Yeah. Like later in the book, my day pack has sample vials, but I forgot to pack a mask. Ugh. That's like the one thing he didn't bring. And as a guy who thinks a lot about his loadout, who, never leaves the house without a giant purse jam-packed with bullshit, that really spoke to me. And I enjoyed the fact that, like, at any given moment, he's capable of just, like, digging into his fucking Batman utility belt and pulling out what he needs to pull out.
He has Felix's magic bag of tricks, basically, and it's awesome. I agree. My point, I think, is almost...
But it just keeps happening. That's like a half dozen things scattered across the book.
Yeah.
Like,
I think mine is actually pretty close to that, in that the things that bring joy to this man are just so entertainingly stupid that there were several moments where I had to stop reading for a second to laugh, just because at one point when he first, discovers this pattern that he thinks might be a shark, he says something about he got really excited because the neurons in his brain started firing, just like when he solves a Sudoku.
Oh, no. He does not say that.
He does. Here. I will go to this. No. It's page 163. Let me find it here. The analytical part of my brain is exhilarated. The neurons that get pleasure when I solve a Sudoku are euphoric. Fuck! And this is when he finds a dead body, by the way, because he's so stoked that it is where he thought it would be.
Oh my god.
But yeah, the book is just filled with little weird insights into this character like that, where you're just like, I don't know. There's something like almost like classically nerdy about him that's very entertaining to me.
There's also like, I want to do a supplementary high point just to take us out. It's like the old stories where a town would drown a child in a lake to prevent flooding. You do it enough times, and your lake runs dry, your children are gone, and all you have left is an empty lake filled with skeletons.
I have never heard that story.
What? Yeah, exactly. What stories are these, Chief?
Is the idea that the child is swallowing enough water that piece by piece, when you drown children, you're drying out your lake?
Like the water turns into skeleton? I don't know.
Is this a jug face kind of situation?
Is this the skeleton world?
I don't know.
Of some kind, but anyway.
I'm guessing it's some weird anthropological thing that's very specific to like one culture that he just assumes is common knowledge to everybody or something.
Yeah, it's like those old stories. Buddy, your grandma's fucked up.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't have spent so much time with Uncle Jack.
I didn't actually pick this up, but like the next sentence is him, like somebody tells the narrator that, and his next sentence is, I don't know what to say. You know what?
I wouldn't either.
I'm with you, bro.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. We should probably take a short break, and then we'll come back and we'll play some games.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Get ready. We'll be doing Sudoku.
No, Jay, put the 3 in the box.
Ooh, my neurons are firing wildly. We're back from traipsing through the forest in bear suits playing Sudoku.
Oh my god, there was one moment, this is too small for, a main thing, but when he finally comes face to face with the killer, the killer's described as having like a string of bear claws hanging from his neck.
Yeah.
And for a second, I legit did think, delicious.
Yeah, like donuts. I had the same thought. Well, also too, because I believe it's written as one word, like the donut. As opposed to how it should be written, which is 2 words. But yeah.
Have you come to do battle? Your chest girded with tasty treats?
Yes, I have a necklace of strudels. And perhaps a blintz or two.
I'm gonna take you down, you murderous tow truck driver, with your power of invisibility and your uncanny ability to find the most vulnerable people in society. The people whose cars have broken down.
Yeah.
That's literally a major plot point.
It is. That's how he figures out who it is. He's like, oh, who's the guy who comes to rescue? Who's the guy who you tell your whole story to? And I'm like, dude, you've never been in a tow truck.
Yeah.
Because tow truck drivers, usually the conversation
the talking goes the other way.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorite life stories ever was I broke down on the road between Naples and Miami, which is in South Florida. It's colloquially known as Alligator Alley.
Beep.
And for good reason.
I would not want to go into an alley where there were alligators. I just want to put that out there.
Either way, my car broke down, and I had to have a tow truck driver come out, and the guy spent the whole time playing a cassette single of Bob Seger's Night Moves, which was the same song on both sides. It would auto-flip and play Night Moves again, and then auto-flip and play Night Moves again for about a 2.5-hour drive while he drove. This was at about 2 a.m. In the dividing line between two lanes, yelling things like, "Out here, there ain't no laws." So... some of the things you hear about Florida are actually true, folks.
This needs to be a movie. Like, no setup, no payoff, just
that.
Just that.
Yeah. I mean, the payoff is I ended up covered with mosquito bites from waiting for this tow truck driver, I guess. And then I had to sleep at the parking lot of a Waffle House in Naples, Florida, because AAA will only pay to tow your car about 100 miles ago per day. But yeah, anyway.
Is there any way we can afford Night Moves, though?
Yeah, that's the question. In retrospect, like at the time I was like 17. In retrospect, it felt very much like a David Lynch movie. But wow, that's our second Lynch of the episode, huh? But yeah, no, that really happened. And man, that guy loved Night Moves. So...
I don't know. You may be in a David Lynch movie yet. You know, he just may not have released the dash cam footage from that experience yet.
That's true. Either that or he was fucking with me, which is also a strong possibility, because if there's one thing like Florida rednecks like to do, it's fuck with weird looking people. So anyway, let's move on to the most movinest segment in podcasting night history.
As that tow truck driver famously said to Jay, "I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me."
And so, here are some dramatic readings.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
All right, so dramatic readings. We're going to take pieces of this book. We're going to read them to you with the gravitas they deserve. Why don't you go first? Mine's pretty lengthy. I don't want to put you on hold for that long, so.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Savvy listeners will know where I'm going with this one.
Uh-oh. It's time to get sexy.
Turn up your George Winston albums. I turn the dome light off. Jillian is still looking at me, the glow of the dashboard illuminating her face. There's a curl of a smile on her lips. The lingering gaze, I know what that means. I think. For her, this is still an adventure. I don't think she gets it. Or maybe I don't. Impulsively, maybe it's the adrenaline, I lean into her personal space and her lips part slightly. I give her a kiss, intense, but quick. She's smiling when I pull back. "What?" I ask. This is probably the most morbid first date anyone has ever been on. You asked for it. I did. She puts her hand on the back of my neck, signaling that we're not done kissing. You realize that may have been the killer who just passed us? You realize what a turn-on this kind of rush is? There's something about her I can't resist in the moment. I grab her by the back of the head and press her lips against mine again, this time more forcefully. My tongue finds hers, and they play back and forth. I slide a hand under her shirt and feel the breasts I've been obsessing over all day.
Goddamn, son.
Actually, since I met her. At some point, her hand touches my thigh and travels upward until she's cupping my bulge. She whispers into my ear, "Are we going to do something about that?" I lean away and lean against my door. "I'm sorry, What? Is it me?" "No, it's me. These are dark things, dark places. I shouldn't have taken you there. If I hadn't gone, then I wouldn't be here."
Yep.
An hour ago, we were looking at a dead body that had been dead for 30 years, and the killer is still out there. Yes, Theo, he is. And the insurgent asshole that killed my husband is still out there too. I'll never get closure on that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't say that. Are you sorry you kissed me? No. You have to be able to compartmentalize all that. Your problem is you only have one compartment.
Hashtag relatable, by the way. Anyway, continue.
It's how I focus. Have you considered the fact that it might keep you running in circles? She's on to something. Mart didn't tell me about the hot spring. That came from a random comment. I've been doing the same thing over and over again. I stare at her. She crosses her arms and watches me with her little smug smile on the corner of her lips. Now what? I shut off the professor part of my brain and say the first thing that comes to mind. Climb in the back seat and find out.
Ew. That's a creepy come on line.
I mean, I gotta throw it out. I gotta throw out like mad props to Jillian. Way to stay focused through a completely oblivious and unpleasant man to make it clear that what you would like is to make out a little.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at least
that's the kind of stick-to-itiveness that I personally
I
have relied upon through my romantic career.
I was going to say something very similar. It's like, yeah, I need more Jillians in my life, I guess. Like, hey, stupid, you're supposed to kiss me.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So rolling along from that, I'm going to talk about a scene where right before our intrepid hero finds the first of many bodies that he discovers. And this is when he is now teamed up with Amber, the sex worker / con artist, and her friend Devin, who is described as her pimp / boyfriend. Their words, not mine. And we'll just get started here.
And there's, like, by the way, 100% chance that he is wearing his Halo t-shirt over a long john and probably under a red flannel, a.k.a. my favorite outfit of all time.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand their relationship dynamic. Is Devin your pimp? Fuck no. I'm not a fucking whore, she says sharply. I was going to say boyfriend. Oh, we have an open relationship. Not that it's any of your business. I'm embarrassed by the whole discussion. I didn't mean to imply anything. You have a judgmental face. I'm a scientist. I look at everything this way. She tilts her head towards the house. Devin wanted to be a scientist. Really? I say a little too loudly. He loves all that shit. He's got a Neil deGrasse Tyson t-shirt and everything. We used to get high and watch Bill Nye the Science Guy. Out of nowhere, this makes me laugh. My stomach protests in pain, so I try to stop moving. Yeah, fucked up, I know. You ever watch Sesame Street Wasted? It's like it's made for 2-year-olds and stoners. No, I've never gotten high all that much. As an undergrad, I was on a trip to the Amazon, and a local medicine man gave some of us something that I still can't identify. We sat around in a circle drinking it, thinking it was a bonding ceremony. Turns out they were just messing with the out-of-towners. I sat in a tree for hours convinced I was a spider monkey. When I got back down and explained what I experienced, the medicine man asked me how I was so certain I wasn't a spider monkey that just got high and thinks it's a scientist. Amber taps the side of her nose. That guy knew what he was talking about. How are you so sure? Sometimes I wonder. I like that Amber taps the side of her nose to make a point, much like Santa Claus.
Yeah, like Amber, surprisingly up to date on what people did in hit movie of 1970, whatever, The Sting, to indicate they were in on the joke.
Yeah, I mean, also characters in this book refer to each other as swell. At one point, Amber says that when she and her friend were out in the woods and her friend disappears, which ends up being the body they find later, nobody believes her that her friend was kidnapped because they were tripping. And she says they all think that she's out there having a good old, or a gay old time somewhere. Which, okay, nobody talks like that anymore. But especially not people who spend, most of their time getting high. I just like to point that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was a really good example of how amazed our author is at the concept that someone who uses drugs might have interests that go beyond using drugs. I found that really kind of, I don't want to say endearing. It's just. It's really indicative of a certain worldview, for sure.
There's like 4 more books in this, so maybe around like book 3, he discovers like there are actually a lot of environmental factors that kind of fuck a person up, and somebody with like real ambition and even talent could have been stymied by pure circumstances of their birth. That's not fair. I think everybody should have a completely level playing field, and that's why I've gone full socialist.
Yeah, well,
I'm Dr. Theo Cray.
Rose emoji.
Yeah, exactly. and I'm founding some DSA chapter. Okay, so the other thing that I do want to say, this book ends like his girlfriend doesn't die, which I thought was a giant surprise. Like the whole time, I'm like, I've read a million of these books. Like, what happens is he falls in love with somebody out in the woods. And
they
then,
have
like,
sex once.
They have sex once.
Dies.
She dies so that he can start with a clean slate in the next book. She doesn't actually die on screen. And so now I'm really hoping that book 2 also takes place in rural Montana. He's just like, I'm Montana Sherlock Holmes now with my girlfriend Jillian. And and it stays cumulative,
We haven't mentioned either, Jillian is basically making advances throughout the course of this book. Old Gus has to inform our hero about that. And the way that she expresses her interest in him more than once in this book is by saying the phrase, "Wait till you see me in hiking shorts."
She's proud. She's proud of her legs. I think that's safe to say.
I just love, wait till you see me in hiking shorts, baby.
Well, so that whole scene is amazing because she says that to him. It like bounces completely off him. And like 2 pages later, she pats him on the hand and says, "I'd like to come on the hike with you. That's a hint. I'm not going to give you very many of them."
Yeah. No, I mean, she's a patient woman. And as previously mentioned, the world needs more Jillian. So I'm a fan.
But if she's settling for Dr. Theo Cray,
that means I would have a chance.
Well, I was just going to say, this says something about the options available to her in the town she's in.
That's a good point.
Makes me a little bit sad.
Yeah, that's a really good point because she's described several times as quite attractive, and Theo Cray describes himself as not.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and she definitely is like looking at a fixer-upper. Like one of her come-on lines to him is like, "No, Gus has had some real changes in you. I see now that you don't slouch anymore and you don't cringe when people talk to you. That makes me like you more."
You've stopped pushing up your glasses with your middle finger.
Yeah. And like she was hitting on him before that. So, whatever.
I don't know.
Trivia question. Mm-hmm. Is it deliberate or not that Dr. Theo Cray is a pretty close anagram for theocracy?
Oh, I think that's almost certainly intentional. I don't know why, but like it's just such an unbelievable name that there has to be some reason behind it.
Also, I do want to throw out like a supplemental low point and difficulty with this book is all the names are so aggressively generic.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it earlier.
It's legit hard to keep track of because everybody's like either,
Jillian,
Amber
Gus,
Green,
Amber.
Yeah, they're just like there's nothing. I don't know. It's an art to pick good character names.
Yeah.
And that is an art that I think Andrew Mayne has not yet quite mastered.
Everybody in this book has a last name. I can remember one of them. and it's
Cray.
our hero, Cray, yeah.
And that's because
And Joe Vick, because he's only ever referred to as Joe Vick.
time to get Cray.
Yeah, it is. He does, too, let me tell you.
Oh, my God.
He points at the back seat and says, find out.
I mean, I kind of wish he'd said, like, this is where the magic
He came pretty damn close, really.
like, when he pulls something out of his day pack, like, these are my dogs. Of course, they're not real dogs. I just use that as a colloquial term to describe the two things I just pulled out of my day pack that we happen to need right now.
A Leatherman, and for some reason, a square rule.
Ooh. I mean, I don't trust anybody who doesn't go on a hike with without a fucking T-square and a slide rule, man.
And a sextant for some reason. For navigating via Dead Reckoning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you know, you don't want to do that if the tree canopy is too dense, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm boring you.
All right. Anyway, let's move on here to what would they do?
Sometimes intentions are hard to divine, and others declare as day. So tell me, what would they do?
All right, Collision, you're going to have to set this one up.
This is a little bit different. So we described this in the past as as inhabiting the post-Martian landscape, right? Now, the Martian had a hero astronaut,
Yes.
which is weird. Like, who can think of an astronaut as a hero?
I mean, geez.
Right.
It's not like there's been, like, any movies about that ever.
Right. So the Naturalist, and I don't know if we've talked about this quite enough, has a hero biologist / computer programmer. So he basically, like, hikes a lot, knows what plants look like, but is also, like, totally capable of hyper hacking the old mainframe.
Yeah. Somehow.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an unlikely protagonist, but, you know, somebody who can science things pretty effectively.
Yeah, this is probably the time to mention. There is, in The Martian, I believe, a phrase where the guy says he's going to science the shit out of something or science the fuck out of something.
I'm going to have to science the shit out of this. And, like, if you think that Matt Damon can't act,
Yeah.
like, the fact that he delivers that and it's not actually...
It didn't make you cringe?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, but intentionally funny and kind of endearing, and you want to see what he's about to do.
Yeah.
Like, good job, Matt Damon.
Well, this book contains the phrase several times, I'm going to do some science shit. Which, once again, post-Martian. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So, Jay, what would you do if you had to pitch an unlikely protagonist with an unusual set of skills? And as a supplemental thing, if that unlikely protagonist had a homebrewed database / AI that came in to be helpful, what would that be called?
Okay. So, it would be Liam Neeson, who has a very specific set of skills.
Oh, man, he's a sweater wearing,
Yeah, no.
gravitas.
No, to be fair, you gave me some advance warning on this because this is a complicated one. And I came up with Dax Barringer, who is he's an audio engineer. But he also has super hearing powers and has a crazy AI that could take any sound file of anything and isolate each individual sound.
Whoa.
So, like, you could record, say, a freeway, and his AI could get a conversation inside
in one of the
every
cars.
car. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, Dax Barringer, audio engineer.
And it's like, okay, I think if I isolate all the conversations properly, I can actually get the sound waves bouncing off the license plate and get you the number.
Exactly.
Like that kind
Yeah,
of.
it goes that deep, for sure.
This is amazing. I think we just invented blow up.
Yeah.
Blow out.
Blow
the De
out,
Palma
yeah.
version of
Yeah, I
blow
was
up.
not going to say blow up. Nobody's running around with naked models. And
Do they, so at audio engineer school, which like you
Yeah,
went to.
exactly.
Like, do they make you watch Blowout?
There's no art in audio engineering school. They make you record shitty local bands that sign up for free recording time so that they can get a demo of their Skinner covers to bring to bars.
But what about the recording engineer's code, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Do no harm.
Sorry, that's another Sharpling and Worcester ripoff on my part. But,
All right.
but I'm going to make Jay listen to that later because it's going to make him cry.
I've never heard that before, but I'm sure it's great because if there's two things that are hilarious to me, it's anything Sharpling and Worcester do and jokes about audio engineering. So,
And this one goes pretty deep.
yeah, it does.
That's fucking, what is it, Dax?
Dax Behringer.
Dax
'Cause,
Behringer.
You know, Behringer is a budget line of audio gear. So I figured they make that crappy headphone amp up there on my desk. So,
Is his nemesis like, Dave Sony?
yeah. No, it would be like Vic Neve or something.
Dax like goes to his boss and is just like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to have to reach out to my mentor, Catherine Tascam.
Yeah, exactly. Eric Ampex reporting for duty, sir.
I'm going to have to make some calls. This one's going to go deep. We're going to have to go reel to reel. And then it blacks out and you go to commercial.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could do this for hours. You could have Steve Studer. Yeah, but anyway.
So I would go a little bit different. Like, I really thought that this had pretty strong, especially at its better parts, like X-Files vibes. Like, especially while you're like wondering, is this a mutant super bear or not?
Yeah.
And it's out in the woods, and it really reminded me of the X-Files pilot. So when I was thinking about what I would do if I was trying to pitch this, I of course thought it needed to be a buddy pair.
Oh, okay. Good call.
And if you're thinking unexpected skills, well, so first off, there would be Ira Stein, who's a record shop clerk who knows everything about everything with respect to recorded sound.
Man, we're kind of on the same wavelength.
We're fairly similar, yeah. And so he would have created his own special database, sounds not on broadcast, which are things that are not available digitally. Like he has a comprehensive inventory of all the sounds that like aren't on Spotify, aren't on Bandcamp, aren't on Pandora, whatever.
Songs
right?
or just sound?
Just sounds, all of them, including songs.
Okay.
Right? And
That is pretty magical.
And so presumably, a lot of the episodes would have to revolve around like, if we isolate the frequencies in the background, we'll hear that David Bowie's second to last album, The Next Day, is playing. That's not available on any streaming service. So our killer has to own a turntable.
Ooh, that's
and so
good.
It would be shit like that,
I like
right?
this.
And his partner would be Deb Wheeler, a bike mechanic.
I don't see how this skill set interplays.
I mean, they just sort of they just get caught up in things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Maybe it would turn out our killer is one of those assholes that rides around on a bike that has like the little boombox mounted to it.
God, that little like shoulder speaker. Yeah. Yes, those people, you may have heard of them. They're called Worse Than Fucking Hitler.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but they sure are fucking annoying.
Yeah. And her carefully curated database would be Gear Rotation Understander Prime Mover. And it would just be sort of like an overall transportation related database that would like allow her a comprehensive understanding of how people could get from point A to point B without actually leaving a trace, as you would on an average bicycle.
I see.
So,
If you just figured out a way to switch prime and mover, you could have the acronym GRUMP for that also.
Shit, that's what I was actually shooting for.
Oh, dang it.
Fuck.
And you ended up with Gruppum.
Yep, and I can't spell for shit.
Hey, as we learned
anyway.
on our last episode, Cybernark,
Yeah.
when you're making acronyms, you can play fast and fucking loose.
I know, but that's why I was trying to do it like really hard. That's why Ira's database was Snob.
Oh, shit. I didn't catch that. That's like an Easter egg, or it was.
Yeah, not anymore.
Oh, well. But, yeah, good call. I didn't think of a name for mine, so kind of bummed. But
It's all right.
it would probably have a human name because I imagine that Dax Shepard would talk to it like a... Dax Shepard. Wow. Dax Behringer would talk to it like a person or something, so it would probably be called like Eliza or something.
Oh my God, yeah, it would 100% be like a voice-controlled AI.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I think those are good.
I mean-
I would watch your show, to be honest.
I don't think a lot of crimes are going to sneak past Dax,
Not Dax.
Ira, and Deb.
Man, maybe they all need to team up. And they could start a pizza shop.
Yeah! And you know what the real crime that they would have to investigate is? Gentrification.
Oh, see, I was going to say pizza in California, but same difference.
I was driving around Oakland yesterday. This is going to be a deep cut for only locals. And I was rolling down Telegraph, and I thought to myself for a second, you know, one of the best things in my life right now is that I haven't been to Lane Splitter Pizza in like 3 years.
I don't like lane splitters.
It's bad pizza. They're
It's
nice.
wicked overrated.
They're nice people. The pizza is terrible.
Yeah, no. I'm an Escape from New York fan myself. Okay, now we've been talking about local pizza joints for quite a while.
Those are good pizza places.
We should probably move on to our last game here, so let's do a little Russian roulette.
Russian roulette, Russian roulette, Russian roulette, not actually Russian.
Oh no!
So Russian roulette requires us to generate random page numbers and go to those pages when we don't have a physical copy we can flip through. So I sit down at my computer and go to a website that generates random numbers. I enter a range of numbers between 0 and the number of pages in the book and click the submit button. I'm presented with a random number in the range which I have specified. Sorry, it's just lapsing.
Fuck, I was right back in the book. It was
Yeah.
amazing. The narrative was so like thick and yeasty.
Yeah. I guess I'll go first. I've got page 331, and I'm going to start out with one of my favorite sentences in the book.
Oh no.
This is completely random, and I'm so excited. Shut up, Dr. Cray, snaps Whitmire, or we'll have you tased again.
Yes!
You don't understand. Whitmire pushes past Seward and crouches down in front of me. He shoves a finger in my face. I'm sick and tired of your bullshit. Keep your mouth shut. You don't know what you're messing with, I say under my breath. Oh, really? What are you going to do? Not me, dumbass. Him. This Joe Vick. He's a killer. I've known him for 20 years. You've been here, what, 2 weeks? I have a pretty good idea what I'm dealing with here. Glenn steps over and tries to calm things down. Dr. Cray, we'll take a bit for questioning. We'll see if his story matches up. This is under control. I shake my head. You don't get it. You don't know what you're dealing with. I've looked at his patterns. He's not a man. He's a monster that's excellent at pretending he's a man. But all he really wants to do is kill. The bodies I found, they're only part of it. This is only the beginning.
Bum, bum, bum.
I just love, shut up, Dr. Cray, or we'll have you tased again.
I mean, if there was ever a great sentence in a book that made me stand up and say, maybe we should have someone tased again, it would be that sentence.
For sure.
I'm not going to lie. I also got a fairly central scene, oddly, though this was completely random. What should we be looking for? Asks Amber. I give her a shrug as I stand up. I don't know, a shirt, her purse, something that says she was here. Amber and I spread out and start kicking through brush and rocks. Devin sits on a log and watches us. Not sure myself what we should be looking for, I ask, you remember what she was wearing that night? Amber sets down an empty beer can. She had a blue coat that came down to her knees, knit cap, jeans. Other than beer cans and silver Mylar candy wrappers, there's no sign of Chelsea. I'm not sure what I was expecting. A bloody shoe that matched the foot of a long-gone Cinderella. Ugh. A confession from the killer. We spend the next half hour searching while Devin types away at his phone.
Fucking Devin.
Thank you for your help, Amber says to him, sarcastically, as she passes him.
It's a good thing that was called out.
I'm just here to make sure you don't get raped and murdered. He nods to me, then grins. Amber glances back in my direction. Maybe you're just afraid we'd just fuck while we were up here alone. Devin's smile fades. He doesn't look rich, but go ahead. See if I care. Fuck who you want. Their squabble is making me uncomfortable, so I give them some distance.
I just realized, why does everybody in this book wear an overcoat?
Why does everybody in this book wear a knit cap?
That's a good point, too.
I mean, I guess it's Montana. You need the warmth. You need the protection. But also, you need to have a sound, porous kind of cap that will alert you to mountain lions, which are mentioned about 8,700 times but never actually appear, bears, or most frighteningly, tow truck drivers disguised as bears.
And it's never this. I realized it just now when you said it. It's never explicitly described how he disguises himself as a bear, other than the fact that he walks on all fours sometimes.
Well, he's a giant man.
Ah, okay.
He's 6'5".
Okay.
And he wears all body armor, and he straps on bear claws. It's not explicit, like, why that should strike people as a bear. I think maybe he strikes at dusk.
Ah, I see.
I think maybe he...
As tow truck drivers often do.
Yeah, if he sees someone's about to escape, perhaps he mutters something about a picnic basket.
Oh, that's entirely possible, yeah.
Yeah, but the bear camouflage is one of the elements of this book I think one might describe as a little underbaked.
Yeah, and I just realized the easiest way to avoid this problem to begin with would have been to just hang your camping supplies from the branch of a tree.
Fuck. That would have been amazing. So we haven't even gotten to this. So what is this book about? This book is about a super serial killer with kind of a bear fetish who drives around preying on vulnerable people.
With homemade Wolverine claws.
With
basically.
homemade Wolverine claws. How does our hero psych himself up to taking on this villain at the very last second? It is with the following best sentence I think I've ever read. I have to think like a dolphin.
That is true.
I'm just going to leave that.
Natural enemy of bears.
Yeah, I don't want to explain it.
Just let it drop.
Just let it drop.
It's like that whole space goes, why do sharks explode thing.
Just
there it is.
sometimes you have to think like a dolphin. And in case you're wondering, does that mean like I enjoy recreational sex is what he thinks and that solves the problem? No. Is it, wow, fish are fucking great. I love eating fish. Nope, not that either.
Is it, let me out of SeaWorld, you assholes?
Oddly, yes. Jesus, Jay, spoiler.
We're running pretty late, so let's go ahead and take a break and do some dolphin shit. And then we'll be right back.
Cause I true like shoes, cause I put long hair. You know, taking money for a lay. Just like me, you're just swimming on this planet. Your friends are but like all the rest. You'll get old and have a wrinkle ass. You obsessed, one you bear, wanna sit in the woods, in my cave, on my prey. Could be you when I food. Birds are buried, ladies, woman I live. Tell you can call you go cherry.
All right, we're back. We've turned on our microphones, and we're going to use them to record things.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So we're done talking about the Naturalist, and now we're going to talk about some stuff that is maybe more worthy of your time, and do some recommendations.
Wow, way to set the bar, bro.
Yeah, it's not hard. House cleaning, that's a good one. Do some laundry, maybe draw a picture, origami,
Ooh.
building things from Lego. But in this case,
I'm feeling really seen right now, but
Hey.
I'm also feeling really yelled at right now.
Hey, I build things out of Lego as well, so I think we're both guilty here. I also have several origami books on my coffee table as we speak, so... One of them involves origami specifically that you could fold from dollar bills, which I've decided I'm going to start doing at bars to annoy bartenders.
Oh, please, as a former bartender, please do not do that.
I wasn't serious.
There was a guy who used to come into the bar who was universally known only as Flower. I'm sure he had an actual name, but his name was Flower because all he would do is fold up flowers out of keno slips and give them to girls who would then stop talking to him.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I was, I
did
watched... Oh, sorry?
I did have one friend who would also make these beautifully, lovingly detailed dicks out of dollar bills, and he would leave those everywhere. But he was he was an odd duck.
You don't say.
Yeah, I do say.
I wanted to recommend a...
Solid segue, doctor.
Yeah, that's me. Riding around my house on the Segway. I wanted to recommend Recently, I got on the internet and immediately saw news that bummed me out, which is pretty much what happens every time I go on the internet lately. And it was that Ursula Le Guin has passed away. And I really do consider her kind of monolithic in the world of sci-fi and fantasy for sure. And I just wanted to recommend, if you've never read it, she wrote a book called The Dispossessed, which is one of my favorite sci-fi books of all time because it trades pretty heavily in some radical leftist politics, which is pretty unique in that world. There's a lot of Heinlein type politics out there in sci-fi. There's not a lot of people, pushing Marxism. And I'm a big fan of that book. It's also, in addition to, being somewhat polemic, it's a really good story and really worth reading. And especially now that she's gone, I think it's a good time to, pay tribute. So, check out The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin. It's really good.
It's a great rec. It's always easier for me to find things that sort of really present the dystopia that we're living in and really analyze the awfulness of the present moment and kind of wallow in it. But I think this time I just want to give a general recommendation to seek out those pieces of art that try to depict that a juster, fairer world than we have would also be a more beautiful world.
Yeah.
It's sad, but the first thing that comes to mind is a children's book called The Pushcart War.
It's a good book.
By Jean Merrill. And, but don't stop there. Just remind yourself that such art exists and that points at a world that could also exist, and that would be fucking neat.
Yeah, and I think that kind of just ties back to what I was saying in that I think with the internet the way it is nowadays and stuff, it's easy to fill your life with negativity. And, it's definitely worth seeking out things that, make you feel hopeful and positive about, things don't have to always be as bad as they are right now. So I agree.
Yeah. We don't have to trade away what little we have to actually just survive.
Yeah.
So we can have it all. Damn it. You know what else we can have? We can have letters.
A, letters B, letters C, letters D, letters E, letters F, letters G, letters. Got a lot of letters.
Wow. Now Collision just got off his segue. And we're going to get into our correspondence segment where we talk about things that you send us, be they through email or physical mail or whatever the heck.
Yep. So we're going to have a 3-part letters segment this time around.
Goodness.
And it's going to be the first two, I would say, partake of call-out culture.
Okay.
And pertain to our last episode. So
did we say something really stupid on our last episode and not realize it?
We did.
Okay.
We got a lot of feedback on Robonarch and Cybernarch, sorry. And 98% of that had to do with me continually getting the name wrong, and the other 2% pertained to the following. We talked a little bit about what if Morrissey was in the children's TV show Mask and therefore had a transforming vehicle.
We dropped the ball on this.
Yeah, we totally missed it. About 1,100 people are totally right. We were totally wrong. Morrissey would not, as the Warlock Pinchers said, do something completely offensive. Look it up if you're interested. Don't get mad at me if you're offended. He would ride a moped.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. We were wrong.
I mean, it was right there, and we missed it. And, although it does get tiring to kind of get the same thing over and over again, I feel like we sort of deserved it for missing that incredibly low-hanging fruit.
Right. As Jay texted me, that was our fuck up. We've both enrolled in additional improv classes.
Yeah, it's true.
We're stupid. We're sorry. We love you. We'll do better.
No, but to be honest, that is a good joke. We missed that joke, and I am deeply sorry.
And to be honest, fuck Morrissey. Okay, second.
Yeah, that too.
Second letter, this is sort of a two-way call-out culture. It also pertains to the very last episode, Cybernarch. It's particularly galling that I got the name wrong about 30 seconds ago because I can see the book from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, it's sitting on my music stand right next to a piece of sheet music.
Yeah, it makes me think he's trying to play Cybernarch when I'm not here.
I'm actually composing a rock opera.
Ooh. Not without me, you aren't, buddy. Okay, and this is from Jessica, fake last name, and it is entitled, Holy Shit, I'm That Guy.
Oh.
Hi. Haven't written in a while, but I wanted to thank you for pointing out an epic personal blind spot in your last episode on Cybernark. You were describing who the book was for, and I was laughing along until you. All of your flashlights are tactical. Me. Well, yeah, but having red light filters are good to prevent detection and are easier on the eyes. You know all the hard points on your clothing for tactical mounts. Me. Well, doesn't everyone?
Uh-oh.
You. Do you own the largest possible knife legal in your state? Me. Yes, but that was coincidental. You know what? Fuck you guys. So now I have to accept that as a 28-year-old stay-at-home mother of 3, I am also mall commando and that guy. So thanks for that, I guess.
I think you're cool as long as you're still not like going to the mall specifically to go to those weird cutlery shops that sell like kitchen knives, but then also nunchucks and ninja stars for some reason.
Whatever, man. If any enterprising listener wants to send a batleth to me, that would be rad.
Man, I just remembered those stores back when I was a kid. They all had those weird, like huge animatronic Swiss Army knives that would fold and unfold.
Hell
and
yeah.
Those things were cool. I want one of those. Send us one of those.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were working at a knife store in a mall in 1988 and happened to steal one of those, reach out to us.
Yeah. I will make it worth your while, one way or another.
And the letter continues. Also, congratulations. You were the podcast I was listening to when I gave birth to my third daughter
Holy
on
shit.
6 December 2017. I believe the first voice she heard was yours, Chris. Would have been my voice, but my Bluetooth died, and I was bored as hell and didn't care what the nurses thought of me at that point and played your podcast out loud. Not that I'm ashamed, but hearing snippets of your show out of context might have gotten my brand new baby taken away until I could get evaluated.
That is really cool, though. And yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's a big moment for us, I think. Like, this is like close to your first on-air marriage proposition almost.
Exactly.
You know?
This is amazing. Anyway, it concludes. Anyway, still listening, still a fan, and wishing you love and warmth in the new year. Yeah, Jessica wrote us like a million years ago and has just been around forever. This was, I don't know, one of the coolest letters we've gotten just that mental picture of a baby being born and our show in the background.
God, I hope it wasn't Cybernark.
Well, no, it couldn't have been because it was 6 December. So,
okay.
Counting back from that, God, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know either, and I'm not going to do the research, but I'm sure it was something wildly inappropriate because that's what we're great at. So.
Yeah. So if you are listening and you happened to be one of those nurses, holler at us.
Yeah, and also Jessica's cool, you know?
Yeah.
You can go ahead and give the baby back.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's all right. So I'm going to guess, it might have been Love Monkey or Necroscope.
Oh, jeez.
Both of which are a little dicey.
Yeah,
but,
okay. I could understand the reaction.
But anyway, Jessica, great to hear from you.
No, thanks for writing and thanks for telling us about that. Like, I feel strangely like warm and proud right now. That's cool.
And I do just want to say, in terms of like the call out, like one of my oldest friends just called me out for being a guy who wore a flashlight on his belt to tend bar and, work the door circa 2006. And I also have an ice scraper in my car right now. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of minimalist plexiglass right trapezoid from Sweden that I had to have imported and that I had to spend a lot of money on. I live in California.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys don't see us when we record this, but when Collision shows up on his bicycle, he's usually packing a chrome bag, and I am not exaggerating when I say this thing must weigh like 25 pounds and barely closes. Like
I don't like to leave the house without all the things I might need.
Yeah, you're usually packing some tactical loadout for sure. So
It
recognize that this comes from a place of love and self-parody.
Or at least
I'm
understanding and self-loathing.
Quite literally today am waiting for a delivery, which would include a spring-loaded knife. So I can only talk so much shit. I got tired of always relying on my Leatherman knife, which sucks. And I'm like, I should just get a pocket knife. And then I went on Amazon and was like, this knife looks cool. So I can only say so much, too.
What if I could summon the blade forth, harnessing the awesome power of shit? What kind of energy does springs have? Potential energy?
Potential energy when they're coiled.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, 8th grade earth science.
No problem. I'm a naturalist.
Okay, so thank you again, Jessica. And I think you emailed us a million years ago about should you start a children's book podcast? And obviously the answer is yes.
Yeah. Everyone should start a podcast. Just don't tell us about it or I'll get jealous.
So tell us about it. Jay didn't read the email.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true.
Anyway, start your own fucking band. That's what I would say.
My ego is so fragile.
So this is a rare physical letter.
Oh, wow.
And it is from Denise, fake last name, who is Desdono, D-O-N-O, on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we communicate frequently on there.
Totes. Going old school here with my missive, so I apologize in advance for any illegibility. God only knows I don't use my handwriting skills much. I wrote in a while ago asking about video game plots and whatnot. Well, I'm multi-talented and decided to give the Castle IDEOT some flair. I have another stitch in the pipeline as well, but it's a trifle more elaborate, so I went simple this time. I hope it got you unmolested. And here it is.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to get this wrong because I do not know the names of various types of embroidery, or is this cross-stitching?
I think it's cross-stitching, yeah.
Well, what it is, it's amazing. It's already framed.
Yeah.
And it is a very cool-looking crab that says, Ride the Crab. It's the kind of frame that stands up, and this is going right on my desk next to where we record, and will become a permanent fixture because this is friggin' awesome.
Yeah, this is amazing. We'll put a picture of this up on the Facebook group so everybody can see. This is so rad.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is great.
The letter continues. I'll have you guys know I almost blew my entire paycheck buying this frame because Michael's had Halloween things on sale, and I have poor impulse control around skeletons and spooky houses made out of tin.
Well, who
apparently.
doesn't?
All I'm going to say is I have similar stories, only it's even worse because it involves Walgreens around the holidays. They've got these incredibly chintzy plastic skeletons, and I'm like, well, obviously I need that for my apartment.
I mean, as a Jewish American, about 1 week per year, stores like Target or whatever will roll out the old Hanukkah stuff. And I've been known to buy a dreidel or two. So
I think that was my favorite line off of the Beastie Boys album.
Yeah, I've been known to buy a dreidel or two.
Well, I'm Mike D, and I buy dreidels. Much love to y'all from the depths of the Midwest, and Denise, all sincerity, right back at you. This thing's fucking amazing.
This is,
Thank you
and
so much.
seriously, I'm not exaggerating. This is going on the desk. I'll have to clear some space for it, but it is going right there. It will be right next to where we record every time we do a show.
Such a happy little crab guy.
It is. It's awesome. I actually, I mentioned origami earlier. I've been trying to find a good origami crab because I wanted to put it on my desk, but this is even
Hell yeah.
better. So,
Hell yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
But I mean, that's a crab that needs a friend, if
Yeah.
ever I've seen one.
true.
So make that origami crab.
They're surprisingly difficult. I've found 3 different patterns for folding crabs, and they all involve a origami skill level that I have yet to attain.
Keyword there, yet.
Yeah, I mean, I just need to level up. Put all my points in origami.
Oh, yeah. And if you'd like to follow along with us as we level up, you can do so on Twitter at IDEOTV. You could do so
Pod,
on
right?
IDEOTV Pod, you're right. On Facebook at the same place. We've got a party pit that you can join from there as well. This episode, like all episodes, is brought to you in part by our friends on Patreon who have really stepped up and helped us out enormously.
Is it donor poem time?
Well, it's short donor poem time because I didn't have time to finish it this time around. But This will be longer soon. But just as a little teaser, thanks for sticking with us when Jay skips Raw so we can record for something for you to listen to in your car. Your support and our show go together like prog rock and foie gras.
Ooh, I like it. I like it a lot.
So there's going to be a little bit more along those lines very soon. Thank you, as always, for bearing with us. There, by the way, one last little sentence from this book I've just got to give you. I swear I thought up my thing before this. But, Jay, you'd mentioned that you're not entirely sure if this author understands people all that well. So let's maybe just leave you with this.
Okay.
They'd met at an off-campus party and bonded over a mutual love of prog rock and board games. The first evening they spent in his dorm. They listened to Tubular Bells, played Stratego, and drank cheap wine.
Tubular Bells is not prog rock.
She was pretty sure she was in love right there, but waited 2 months to tell him.
That just pissed me off. Add prog rock to the list of things that this guy doesn't understand.
So until next time.
It's true. Ride the crab.
Don't get crabs.
Watch out for bears.
I was a little too tall, could've used a few pounds. Tight pants points, hollering out. She was a black-haired beauty with big dark eyes and points all her own, sitting way up high. Way up firm and high. Out past the cornfields where the woods got heavy. Out in the back seat of my 60 Chevy. Working on mysteries without any clues. Working on our night moves. Trying to make some front page drive